Here once again in the same scene, and see, I actually deleted the skin deformer and the weight tag just because I want to have a clean start. So you can see the complete workflow. The only little thing I changed is I added these two loops on this polygon mesh, and that is just to support this long area a little bit more. And if you're wondering why I did that, you should probably get volume 1. So let's bind those guys. So select the leg and the whole chain of joints, and we will go character commands bind. I sometimes really filter out the joints because they're kind of in the way, and I have this position recorded. We did it in previous lessons, so that is one thing we kept, and only one thing that I will change. I will here under IK tag, under advanced, I will say align gold. So it's just aligned as a less joint. It's really a personal preference, nothing more. In release 12 we got a really nice addition in a form of character and this weights manager, and it contains so many tools for painting weights, and it's really good. But the only problem is kind of splits up the weight tool, and the weights manager has almost all of that functionality, so functionalities are split apart, and you can find the same commands in both of these guys. So this can be a little bit confusing at the start, but this really has the advantages. So let's talk about weights manager. And I told you in previous lessons that Cinema already has an auto weight feature, so be sure to be in the default pose for this, and here under auto weight you have some sort of a way to do the automatic weight. So select all the joints because you want to weight them all. You want to assign all joints to that polygon mesh. Here you have a mode for that automatic weighting, and I really suggest keeping this distance mode as your preferred mode, since not really that these other modes don't work, they do, but often this distance mode works the best with mirroring, and I really find it to be most precise. This joint settings here means how many joints can influence a point, so how much joints can share a point. So if you have let's say a standard setup like a leg or arm or something like that, you can go for 2 joints. If you will have something with a little bit of more joints, something like a finger, you can go with 3, so 3 joints can control a single point. This fall-off guy is really self-explanatory, but just in case, drop it all the way to 0 and watch this area here. If I press calculate, it will do some sort of a hard weighting, something like this. And if I go all the way to 100%, again watch this area closely and I click calculate, it will really soften them out, something like this, and you can see it loses volume. And for this setting I also suggest the default, I believe it's 80%, and if you calculate it will create some sort of a nice trade-off between the two. So it will be a little bit smooth, it will be a little bit hard, and basically it pretty much works all the time. I also want to change here under skin deformer. You can actually see this is not really a good way of working. It's really cluttered the scene. I lost the part of my viewport, and we'll actually create a custom layout and tool for the weight painting inside Cinema 4D, and I just want to set this type to spherical so I don't lose volume in this. Like maybe you want to lose the volume, it's just what you want. In this case I want it to stay in that volume. So now if we are going to build a custom layout, it really has to be your choice. Maybe you love your managers and commands to be on the left side, maybe in the middle, maybe in the right, maybe something completely different. I really cannot say what will work for you. You have to find that for yourself. As far as I'm concerned, when I'm painting weights, I really get rid of this layer browser. I really don't need it. And I dock this weights manager in between object and attribute manager. It really suits me that way. And if you don't want to dock your weight manager and accidentally close it, you can go here, character manager, weights manager, or simply shift double click on this weight tag. It will open the weights manager. I can show you that. Let me turn it off and it will open that weights manager. I'll dock it again here. There is so many different functionalities when you hold down Control or the Shift key inside Cena for this, so feel free to explore. Also, to paint weights, I will have to have the weight tool, and you can double click without the Shift key and you will get the weight tool. And you could simply lock this guy, but that presents a little bit of a problem for me, because maybe I'll want to change something on the skin deformer, or I will want to change something under IK tag, or simply I want to see the attributes of the another tool I selected, or something like that. This doesn't really work for me, and instead of creating a new manager and docking it here and recluttering my workspace, I'll do something a bit different. So let's build our custom control right here in the viewport, and from experience I really know what I need from this weight tool. I don't need all the settings. I need, for example, this strength slider, I need the mode, and just a tiny few things. Also, I hate double clicking here and calling the weight tool, or going here character weight tool. It's really time consuming to do that, and I really want to have it accessible all the time right here in the viewport. And Cena 4D is really powerful regarding customization, and it has a nice little thingy that is called head-ups display, and I showed you how you can drag your scripts and commands, and it's really unbeatable in that area. And you can enter the edit mode, so you can build various little nifty things. If you right click and hit edit palettes, and you will see blue lines, blue boundaries around your icons, and you can now simply build anything you want and drag almost anything you want in the heads up display. In this case I will drag the weight tool, so I have it always here, and that's pretty much it. I can exit the edit palettes mode, and you have to go to edit mode to add these icons and stuff that is inside menus. If you are going to add something that is inside these managers, you don't have to go into edit palettes mode. So if you simply click and hold and drag this strength guy, you'll get slider in the viewport, and you can move those guys with the control key held down. So let's build something custom for us, so you have it accessible always, because you will be changing the strength and you will most certainly change the mode. So let's drag the mode also here, and let's see what is also useful. For example, here under this weight tool, you see I have it accessible right here from the viewport, and I believe this selected only will also be useful probably. And if you select some points here that you want to paint exclusively without adding weights to another points, you will select those points and simply enable this guy, and you can see it's enabled by when it receives this orangey color. So now it's on, now it's off, and you can clearly see that right here. You can actually group those guys in a single, let's say, entity with shift selecting, and now right click and say make group, and it will create this nice little nifty tool. So it's a weight tool with a strength slider. You can select the mode and will it affect selected only points. And there you go, there is your custom heads-up display tool. One great thing about it is if you deselect the weight tool and select, for example, some other tool, it will collapse and be really small, so it won't get in the way. Only when you activate it, it will be completely visible. That is a really nice thing in Cinema 4D. So let's start painting some weights, and if you go to somewhat extreme pose, as we discussed earlier, you can clearly see the intersecting here, and we want to fix that. So let's say I want to select a few of those points and really smooth them out. Select my leg mesh and see what happens. We have a problem. That is a really big problem. It pops out back to that default state of the mesh when it was created, and this can simply drive you nuts. To disable this behavior, and I really have no idea why this feature is not enabled by default. You have to go here under Edit, under Configure All. You want to really configure this for all viewports you have, and here is a little guy that can make your life easier, and it's called Deformed Editing. Enable it, and you can now clearly see the difference. So now you can see how useful is this keyframing. You don't have to pose it manually to select some points. It's really versatile. So let's select those points and smooth out those weights. So let's select a loop of points here. Maybe not a loop, maybe we'll just isolate that a bit. So select just a few of those points, something like maybe this. And because as you can see, if you go to a little bit more extreme position, you will see those are the points that really need to smooth out, so we have proper deformations. Maybe something like this. I can even leave these guys as they are. And now we'll probably now go under weight tool and select some sort of lower strength, something like 5, select smooth mode, select both of these joints that you want them to influence, and simply paint those guys. And guess what? If you're doing it this way, then you are doing it wrong. This is the refinement stage. You do this at the end, and this can pass on a relatively simpler meshes, and it can work. It can really solve those small issues that you have, but if you want to do proper weight painting, you have to go from certain point, and I will show you and do just that. So let's go to zero pose, and first thing you want to do is let Cinema do the work for you. So do as much as you can with this auto weight feature, and once you are done with auto weighting, when there is simply no more room for improvement, then you go into blocking. And by blocking I mean selecting loops and manually assigning percentages, and those percentages are usually 50%, 100%, 75%, 25%, or something like this. So halves and quarters and something really similar to those values. So let me enable that mouse over feature. So here under display, I will go under mouse over and go all, and it will tell me how much each point is weighted. So for example, this inner loop is really fine. It's 50% on both of these joints, and that is really good in this case. But what about this upper loop? Let's go into somewhat more extreme position, and from experience I would really want to assign 100% weighting of all these points to this hip joint, to this guy here, so it is the single joint that will drive these guys. One solution is to select the mesh itself, select those points with the loop, and once you select the joint, then enter the weight tool, set the strength to 100, and go to absolute mode. So you want to tell these points to be 100% when you click once on them, and for example, let's weight this point 100% to this hip. If we click, it will do just that. And if you have quite a few of these points, this can be a little bit tedious. Better thing to do here is to go here under options and hit this apply guide. This apply guide will appear only if you have points selected. If you go to object mode, it will disappear. Here you can apply all, so it will basically apply 100% strength to all the points in the mesh, and it will assign it to this hip joint. That is not what we want. So we want selected only in this case. So once you make a point selection, that apply button will only apply to those points. So let's give it a try. Let's click apply here, and you can see a change here. It really did what we wanted to do. One thing that I desperately miss in Cine 4D is an ability to add these buttons inside viewport. And if anyone knows the way to do that, I would be really, really thankful. But I think that is really not possible without some changes from Maxon. If I had the opportunity to add the buttons, I would really speed up my workflow substantially. So let's continue with the tutorial. We strayed out a bit. So select this second loop, and in this case, you want to assign it to a knee joint. It's in the 100% value, and you can once again paint those weights manually, but you can simply hit apply here, and it will do just that for the whole loop. And don't confuse this selected only for this apply. They really don't have pretty much anything in common. This selected only means that you will select the point somewhere, and you will be able to paint only exclusively on them. So as you can see, let me just demonstrate that. You see I have a knee selected here only, and now if I do a paint here, if I paint a weight, regardless of the point selection we have on the mesh, you see this is selected. Regardless of the point selection, I can actually paint those weights here, and don't want to do that. If I hit this selected only, I can no longer do that. I can paint only these guys, but they are already weighted 100%. And that is the workflow. After you do all that blocking, only then you go into refinement stage, and you can really manually smooth things out where it really is necessary. So for example, you can fix this area a bit. And nice little trick, if you want to keep that selection of points and still be able to paint to any of them, simply go here into the object mode, and you can do just that. So now is the stage of refinement. Now you're actually painting vertex by vertex. Okay? So you can have nice, cleaner deformations here. And a little common thing that I do is I always test if I have left any points behind, and to do that you simply move the complete hierarchy, and if anything is not weighted to correspond 100%, it will be left behind. So let's go now into the refinement stage, and let's select those few points that we have problems with. So you can clearly see the collision will happen here. So just select few of them, something like this, and you don't have to struggle to select those points inside. I will simply do something like this, and in the more extreme pose I can now select both hip and knee joint, and I can smooth them out a bit. So let's hit apply here a few times until we smooth it out a bit. And you can always paint manually if you prefer that. You can really dive in and paint that vertex exactly as you want it. And sometimes that is really needed, especially on larger mesh and more complicated mesh. And remember, you can hold down the control key for, let's say, another mode, and you can add or subtract. But beware, when you're doing that add or erase mode, be sure to paint just on one of the joints, so something like this, and you use small values. See how I added a weight and it really popped out strongly. So something like 1, 2, 3, maximum to 5 or 10. You can clearly see the difference now. I really believe that this will help you to understand the weight painting and the processes behind it, and it can be a little bit first difficult at a glance, but it really is not. It can be really, really interesting, and it will bring your characters in life. So let's go with our next lesson.